What are the big differences between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, you think?
Think Tulsa has a lot of more old oil money. It's a little bit smaller. I don't want to say boutique town, but it's Oklahoma City seems more like a giant truck stop. So just
A
probably,
giant truck stop? Is that what you said?
yeah, like a giant truck stop. It's sort of the crossroads because you have I-40, I-35, I-44, Route 66. It all kind of go through there. So you get a lot of, it's a crossroads of America.
Yeah. So, like, do you think if you were going to break up Oklahoma City into like different areas, where would you say the better parts versus the worst parts are?
I would say probably, Edmond North is probably in Northwest are probably the better parts of Oklahoma City. And then you have probably the east side, kind of Midwest City, Del City are kind of more the higher crime rates. You have major Teague Air Force Base is on the east side in Midwest City, Del City area.
Yeah.
And then you have Moore, which is on the south side, which south side, southeast, southwest are sort of maybe not the best parts of Oklahoma City. And then you have Norman, which is University of Oklahoma is there. So there's major, that's a little bit better, nicer area as well.
So Moore is not a good place.
It's okay. It's gotten a lot better than it has been. I think it kind of had a reputation for a while.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of rednecks in Moore. Is that true?
There is, and it's home of Toby Keith as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
And
Toby Keith, and I know
he
that there's a
still
lot of
lives there.
other. Oh, he does.
Yeah, he has a house there. He still has there. So
Okay.
I've seen him around on more than one occasion, just out and about. And I worked at a place that he would frequent a lot of times, and so and then I would see him in Norman quite a bit at various restaurants or wherever.
So where would I go if I wanted to bump into Toby Keith in Oklahoma?
Uh, he does have his Toby Keith Bar and Grill that's in downtown Brooktown area of Oklahoma City. So
Okay.
how often he goes there, but I've bumped into him in various restaurants in Norman and probably at an OU game.
Mm-hmm.
OU's huge football.
Yeah. So, do you know what a yee is?
A yee?
Yee, Yeee.
No. Should I?
Somebody told me that like that's what Oklahoma people call their rednecks, the yees. Have you not heard that before?
I have not. I mean, I've lived here in Oklahoma City for, close to 10 years now. I'm from the Northwest, and I have family that are all from Oklahoma and Texas. So, but I have not heard them call that. But
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Probably southeast Oklahoma, probably.
Yeah, I talked to somebody who lives there and he swore like if I mentioned yees, everybody in the state would think that was funny. But I was like, I don't know if everybody's
It's
heard of
funny, but
yee.
I haven't heard that as much. But I wouldn't be surprised if eastern Oklahoma, especially southeast, would be familiar with that.
Yeah. So give me like the rundown on like what's great about Oklahoma because a lot of people don't understand Oklahoma. They think it's whatever they think it is. But
Yes.
um, I've been doing some research and I've realized Oklahoma is different from what I thought it was. So can you kind of like to explain what Oklahoma is and is not?
Definitely, I'll certainly try. How would I explain it? There is definitely a red conservative state. Almost every county is very, very conservative, for sure. What else? Coming from the Northwest and Seattle and Portland kind of breaks my heart, kind of how that looks, now. But as far, especially in this pandemic, there's no traffic. I don't have a lot of traffic. Even before the pandemic, commuting or traffic was almost non-existent. Home prices are probably one of the cheapest in the nation. So you can get a pretty, large, decent, in a decent neighborhood for, I think the average medium is 200,000, if that. So you can get housing prices are really cheap. Cost of living is pretty inexpensive. You're sort of in the middle of America. So if you're going to go anywhere on a road trip now, you're easy to get from one place to the other, I guess. It's not congested. Oklahoma City is a very spread out city. So square miles wise, it's very spread out. So there's, a fair number of things to do, that sort of thing. What other...
like the people, like how would you describe the people of Oklahoma?
I think people are very friendly, more laid back than the West Coast, very friendly, stranger-wise, more, I guess, Southern manners. I don't know if they're really considered Southern, but Southern manners. People open the door, they'll say hi, they'll wave, whereas you don't really get that I've seen in the East and West Coast as much. They're willing to help out, I think, a little bit more. I'm a lot more friendlier with my neighbors here than I've ever been with any other place that I've ever lived. So in that aspect, I guess there's that. So.
Yeah. How is the state changing since you've lived there?
I think. How is it changing?
I mean, is it, there doesn't have to be an answer.
There's a whole lot of change. There's more things that are going in. They're maybe not quite as conservative. I mean, there'll always be a conservative, but not quite as conservative. It's a big oil and gas and an aviation, a lot of military bases. So you get a lot of that. So you've got like Lawton, you've got Altus, you have, Vance Air Force Base. So you have a lot of military. But as far as, I don't see a huge amount of change. I think they're trying to make it a little bit better. I know you have, the cost of living is low, but then wages aren't near as high for a lot of places. They're losing a lot of teachers because they can go to surrounding, like Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, and teachers can make quite a bit more. I have relatives that almost double their salary from being an elementary teacher that went from Oklahoma City to Plano, Texas, and pretty much doubled their salary for the same experience. So I think they're in that process trying to work on, bringing other businesses and other industries. Now that oil and gas has had, it's kind of low. I mean, it's cyclical, so you have a lot of boom and bust, and right now oil and gas is not doing as well as it has been. So I think they're trying to bring in other industries and stuff.
Yeah. Do you plan on living in Oklahoma for the rest of your life?
I don't. I like it for now. I think in the pandemic, when there's not a lot of places to go or a lot of places to do, the cost of living and really no commute was good. But I have been kind of looking to possibly move out of Oklahoma.
Like, where are you planning on going?
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to it. So I want there's a lot. Probably want to stay in the Midwest to West Coast. Probably not too extremes. Like I said, I grew up in Seattle and Portland, and I don't think I want to go back to that. But I'm open to just about everywhere else.
Yeah. Is Oklahoma like it's a southern state, but it's kind of Midwest?
It's sort of no man's land because they're not really southern, but they're not really southwest either. They're not really true Midwest. So like you would think of, when I think of Midwest, I think of South Dakota or Michigan or, Ohio, but I don't, they're just sort of no man's land, like sort of Kansas, Nebraska, I guess more of the plain states.
Yeah.
So I don't really consider them. Yeah. They're sort of no man's land.
Which is good because a lot of, right now everyone's trying to get away from people, away from the ghettos, away from the crime, away from, and moving to areas that are cheaper, that, they can work from home now more, where they're valuing things like school and outdoors, whereas opposed to before, people were like all into being in urban areas. So, I mean, Oklahoma is actually, it's cheap.
It is cheap, and I will.
Friendly.
It is very friendly. There's plenty of things to do as far as, outdoorsy things. There's a lot of lakes. I'm walking distance to a lake. So that makes that great. And I know Tulsa did a thing, and I don't even think they got the full amount of people that they allotted for it, but they're offering $10,000 to move to Tulsa. You just have to live there for a year, and you get $10,000. And basically it's I believe it's $1,500 to move there for moving expenses. And then you get $500 a month towards rent, or just whatever, $500 to live there. And then you get the rest of that in the bonus once you've been there a year.
Wow.
So trying to attract, people from that can, work from home, and then, primarily like, California or West Coast, East Coast. So as far as that goes, I mean, $10,000 and, rent is pretty cheap, or housing's pretty cheap. And so you only have to live here for a year when you can't really get out and do anything. They're not as closed down as a lot of other states are locked down. They don't have whether you like that or not, they don't have a mandatory statewide mask mandate. Mm-hmm. So it's up to the businesses, and it's up to the actual counties or the cities if they're going to do that. And a lot of them outside the major, like Tulsa or Oklahoma City, don't have a mask mandate. So whether you consider that, so whatever your policy is on that, a lot of people don't necessarily enforce it here. So. Mm-hmm. So if you're wanting that open, this is a very conservative state, so the crime rate is pretty low compared to, a lot of other places. You had a video where you drove through the worst parts of Tulsa, which I've driven through, and while there is crime and poverty and crime in almost any city, but it's nowhere near like going to, say, Detroit or Chicago or Baltimore or something like that. So.
No, in fact, that area is apparently more of a ghost town now. I think that part of North Tulsa was notoriously sort of a bad area, but it seems like a lot of the pockets of crime have moved south now, and they're more by the river near Oral Roberts-ish down there, from what I've heard. So, yeah.